After the All-Star break last season, 5 players averaged at least 28 points per game. Steph Curry, Donovan Mitchell, Bradley Beal, Zion Williamson, and De'Aaron Fox. And sure, we all knew about Steph's historic season and Donnie's wild streak for the top-seeded Jazz, Beal's ungodly scoring production, and Zion's explosion on all-time efficiency, but how much did you hear about Fox doing what he did? I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say, not enough. It doesn't help that he's in the Sacramento market or that the Kings didn't win a whole lot of games last year, but come on, man. As a 23-year-old, he averaged better than 25 points and 7 assists per game on the year as a whole on 56.5% true shooting. The list of players to ever do that is pretty short. It's LeBron James, Luka Doncic, Trae Young, and Nate Tiny Archibald. Not a bad list to be on. But again, it seems like we choose to focus on anybody but Fox while he just keeps taking leap after leap after leap. And frankly, he still has room to grow from here. So today, let's just dive into what makes this young star, who seems to be hiding in plain sight, so special, and break down why De'Aaron Fox is so much better than he gets credit for. No matter what you think of him overall, when I say the name De'Aaron Fox, one word probably comes to your mind: fast. And that's for good reason. To say that Fox is quick would be a massive disservice. He is the most explosively fast guard in the entire NBA. Frankly, at this stage, I'm not sure it's even close. Even freak athletes like Russell Westbrook and Ja Morant pale in comparison to Fox. That right there pretty much makes him one of the toughest covers in the entire NBA, because you cannot for a second relax while guarding him. A moment of flat-footedness, even as he's just bringing the ball up the court, means he's blown by you and gotten to the cup. And he's well aware of how to lull people into those lapses. As he approaches you, Fox can play with the same casual pace of many other guards, but once he springs into motion, everything he does is at super speed. He can hit you with a hang dribble and then just blow right by you, but Fox is also a totally unique player in his ability to handle the ball with tremendous control while moving at supersonic speeds. His crosses, which are an essential weapon to his game, might be the quickest in the NBA, and they allow him to change directions in a blur, but he's also a maestro handling the ball in traffic. He'll split a pair of defenders and keep that ball on a string, whip out an in-and-out dribble in tight quarters, spin at top speeds, and just generally keep the ball tight and near him in spots where others would look foolish even trying it and lose the ball 100 times out of 100. Now, what all this does is, most importantly, make Fox a machine at generating good looks at the rim, which is essential not only for himself, but also to the offense as a whole, because it means he's collapsing the defense and drawing attention away from others. But when he does take it himself, man, oh man, is Foxy something else at the rim. Last year, he hit a disgusting 76% of his shots from 0 to 3 feet, which absolutely dwarfs what every other great guard of comparable size, some of whom are considered to be among the most skilled finishers ever, are doing. Part of this is probably that Fox is a clear step on his guy more than anybody else on this list, and he rises up so quickly that he often catches help out of position, but he's also an unbelievable contested finisher. The dude is just smooth as can be adjusting to rim protectors, with phenomenal balance and body control in the air that allows him to evade shot blockers and make traditionally tough finishes look like nothing. Like, he may not quite get Kyrie Irving aesthetic points there, but he loves a good double clutch and he has really nice touch and ball control. Plus, he's got a couple extra inches of wingspan compared to a guy like Irving that make those finishes easier. Also, by putting that kind of pressure on the rim, Fox just eats up free throw attempts, having drawn 7.2 per game last year, a top 10 mark in the league. As I always say, that is a phenomenally important skill set for a scorer to have, because it just means you're manufacturing high probability chances often. And if Fox can go from being a 72% free throw shooter up closer to 80%, those opportunities will become even more valuable. So there you have it. In the half court alone, Fox's quickness makes him an elite scorer, but he also has ridiculous full court speed, which makes him one of the league's absolute best fast break scorers, as he dropped the 4th most transition points per game in all of basketball last year. Fox is the reason the Kings are at their best playing fast, which, by the way, they clearly are, having just ranked as the most efficient transition offense in all of basketball. With him as your general, defenses are helpless. They probably can't stop the ball because a backpedaling defender doesn't stand much of a chance against a sprinting De'Aaron Fox, but even if they can get a man in front of him, he'll still put pressure on you and will find a shooter or cutter filling a lane somewhere else. It's just offense to which there is really no answer. And, by the way, that effect he has collapsing defenses is very real in the half court too. Fox has got good natural feel as a passer and will try some creative bounce passes and whatnot, but averaging 7 assists per game is also kind of easy for him compared to others because of the volume of drive and kick opportunities he generates getting into the lane. He may not have a ton of Luka or LeBron type unthinkable moments of vision and passing ability there, but he looks for and finds shooters and roll men regularly when you can reasonably expect him to. At the end of the day, he's absolutely a guy who you trust to make good decisions as a ball handler, and his playmaking makes him a very potent all-around commander of an offense, which is just more valuable than a player whose greatness is limited to his scoring. Now, again, a lot of this is driven by the fact that Fox is just so damn athletic, but he's nifty too. I already touched on how special his handle is, but Fox is an all-around skilled pick-and-roll scorer, where he ranked in the 69th percentile last year. He can be herky-jerky at times, and he changes pace well, capable of decelerating quickly, which is very important. Because while everyone is terrified of that De'Aaron Fox drive straight to the cup, he can also stop on a dime and kill you with his lethal floater, which is absolutely one of the best in the NBA. Last year, Fox hit over 53% of his floaters, an absolutely elite number that puts him, again, over almost every other point guard who we think of as floater artists as far as efficiency, and it's an essential counter to anybody who would try to just sag off of him all day and meet him at the rim. He can also sometimes plant his foot and put on a clinic with his nice short mid-range game, where he likes to turn either to a fadeaway or a step back, and although those aren't great shots by his standards and he struggles in the deeper mid-range area, they're also important to have in his toolkit, and they continue to make him unpredictable. But ultimately, the most important swing element in determining Fox's ceiling is not what he can do as a jump shooter from that in-between area, but what he can do from beyond the arc. Because as we've established, he's got basically everything else. Elite athleticism and finishing, a knockdown floater, and high-level playmaking. But does he have the shot? Well, last year, Fox was just 32.2% from deep, and over his career, he shot just 32.6%. And he doesn't have the quickest, most fluid motion, but I do think there's reason to believe Fox will continue to improve as a shooter. First off, he shot 39% off the catch from deep last year and has made 38% of his catch and shoot threes over the last 3 seasons, which tells you, at the very least, that he has the tools to be an accurate shooter when his role is simplified. But I also think he has a relatively high ceiling as a shooter off the dribble because he has so many of the non-shooting tools needed to excel there, like the handle and footwork to create space and the balance to hit shots from difficult angles. In fact, we already saw him improve in his advanced shot making off the dribble this past year when he knocked down 41% of his step back threes. And sure, he only attempted 56 on the year, but guys normally don't really add that to their bag until they're at least a few years deep into the league, and once you have it, it is a lethal weapon. Given how well he decelerates and how much he likes to step back inside the arc, I would be 0% surprised if we see Fox utilize that shot more and more this year, which would be major for his game because it's just another way to create unstoppable offense. Then, there's the plain fact that Fox is a willing, confident shooter. He's attempted a higher percentage of his shots from deep each year in the league thus far, and he got all the way up to 5.5 attempts per game last year. Now, that alone is not necessarily a good thing. For example, I think we all wish Russell Westbrook was a little less confident from deep, but it reflects his desire to continue to grow there. So, Fox will never be an elite shooter, but do I think he can be effective in limited opportunities off the catch and create looks for himself one-on-one at a somewhat high volume as needed and knock down 35 to 36% of his triples overall? Absolutely. I do not think this is a man whose shot is broken. I think he's a man whose shot needs improvement, and I think we see it this year. Regardless, though, I will remind everybody that he averaged 28.5 points per game after the All-Star break while shooting just 29% from deep. So although I think that reliable perimeter shot can take his offensive game up another level and leave him with effectively 0 holes, he's a star no matter what who is completely unstoppable in many matchups as is. So what's his ceiling long term? To me, Fox can absolutely be an all-NBA level guy down the line, and I can see him as the best player on some legitimate playoff Kings teams. Sacramento already played as a top 10 offense with him on the floor last year. They just happened to finish the season with what was easily the league's worst defense, which isn't Fox's fault. He's a solid defender who has athletic tools, can pick up the intensity when needed, and is a great playmaker on that end, having averaged 1.4 steals per game in his career. I also think he has some great building blocks alongside him. To me, Tyrese Halliburton is a perfect complementary piece. A great secondary ball handler who plays a cerebral game, will run with him in transition, can stroke it from deep, and has length and excellent perimeter instincts on defense. I genuinely just love that pairing long term. I don't think Halliburton is ever meant to run an offense as a number one guy, but boy does he excel in the role he'd play with Fox. The Kings also just added Davion Mitchell with the 9th overall pick in this draft, who I love. He's another guy who will be a sharpshooter from beyond the arc and a smart decision maker who is a game-changing player defensively. Now, I think Mitchell can play off of Fox in stretches, but I also think he'll need the ball in his hands a good amount. But as long as the Kings stagger these guys' minutes properly, that can make him tremendously valuable because they'll never have to play without a legitimate lead ball handler on the floor, and you're adding another creator who can do multiple things at a very high level. Then, the Kings also have Richaun Holmes, who's a pretty darn good roll man as an athletic lob threat with sweet floater touch who Fox has excellent chemistry with. So, maybe that doesn't scream title contender to you, but it screams that's a whole lot of good pieces who should really complement each other to me. Here's the reality of what I'm telling you. De'Aaron Fox is 23 years old right now, and he could finish top 10 in the league in both scoring and assists this year, or at least come quite close, as the leader of a very good offense on an exciting young team. That may sound nuts, but it's true, and that's kind of the point of this video. I know the last couple of years have felt kind of stagnant for the Kings after they were shockingly fun and competitive in 2018-19, but throughout that time, Fox has only grown and become a monster. He blends a completely unique level of athleticism with impressive playmaking and legitimate skill as a scorer in a way that no other young guard, and honestly, no other player in the NBA does right now. So yeah, this season will be jam-packed with storylines and all-time greats doing all-time great things. But when you look up and see De'Aaron Fox putting on a show every night for the fun, up-tempo Kings, don't be surprised, because he's already been doing just that, and he's only getting better from here. To those of you who have made it this far, as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. If you have, feel free to stick around here on the Nerd Sesh YouTube channel. As you can see, we do 3 podcasts a week, 2 of which are live streamed right here on our YouTube channel, and we just previewed the Pacific Division. So any Kings fans, go ahead and check that out. And you guys can also just listen to the podcast in audio form on Apple, Spotify, wherever you want. I will link those in the description here as well. As you can see, we also do videos like this. I try to make one about once a week. My friend Logan, who I do the podcast with, also makes some, and we should have plenty of content for you guys before the NBA season tips off next Tuesday. So stay tuned in for all of that. Follow us on social media. Twitter is at nerd_sesh. Instagram is at Nerd Sesh. And with that, as always, thank you so much for watching, guys. Hope you've enjoyed.